Claude Code has been going viral all over YouTube and the internet, and they recently released a new feature that is called Claude Code Orchestrated Teams. And what this means is that now we're able to have multiple agents working on the same project at the same time and talking to each other. So in this video, I want to show you how you can set this up yourself and how you can run the different agents so that they build a simple web app for me without me having to be there all the time. My name is Josue, and if you're new to the channel, I've been in the AI and automation space for a little over a year now, especially building with Make.com as well as N8N in the past. And now I'm moving towards this new wave of the way that automations are built, which is using Claude Code. I recently made a video on how I was building my N8N automations using Claude Code. If you want to check this out, I'm going to be leaving a link up here. But with that being said, I want to break down really quick what this is and what it means for us. So I made this super simple diagram to explain to you guys how this works, and it's very, very simple. So you're going to be at the top. Basically, you're going to be talking to a team lead, which is just like your normal chatting with Claude Code, telling it what you want. And then the team lead is going to be in charge of actually spawning this other agent. So for our case, we're going to have a front-end developer, a back-end developer, and a QA engineer. And these different agents are going to start working on specific tasks, and they're going to be able to talk to each other as well. So if the front end needs some information from the back end, they can talk in between each other and back to the team lead. We had something similar in the past in which we could run multiple agents in parallel, but this wasn't very effective because the agents wouldn't communicate with each other. So maybe the front end did fix that, didn't really adapt it to the back end. So there was no way for both agents to talk to each other and fix it together. Now it's a little bit different. This is how it works now. And you can read the whole documentation on how this works inside of Claude Code docs. But with that being said, we're going to jump right into VS Code and start building something. So I've already created a folder for this project. And as you see in my Visual Studio Code, I'm already in the habit tracker app. So we're going to be building a web app that's going to be able to track our different habits, and I'm going to give you some more details on that here in a bit. But if you remember in the previous video, the way that I was running Claude Code to build my N8N automations was using the Claude Code extension inside of Visual Studio Code, which actually shows us an interface similar to like Claude or like ChatGPT, which looks a little bit less intimidating, where you just chat in the model. Unfortunately, the Teams functionality is not available yet in this chat window. And so for that, we're going to have to use our terminal. And if you're wondering how to use your terminal, you can just use it inside of VS Code. You can go up here where it says terminal, new terminal, and we can actually expand this. So the first thing you want to do is install Claude inside of your terminal. We've been running it through the extension, which is a little bit different, but for that, we're going to be using this command. And if you want the full resource guide on how to do this step by step, I'm going to be leaving a link down below to my school community, in which you're going to be able to find this guide plus tons of other guides to help you learn faster. So I'm going to click enter. Now I can just type Claude, and it looks like we have it in. And now it's going to ask for some settings. I'm just going to click that I want to see it in dark mode. And now I'm going to log into my Claude account in order to connect it to my terminal and have access to it. So I'm going to click enter. That's going to open a window here in my browser. I'm going to click authorize, and it looks like it says login successful. So I'm just going to press on enter, and then yes, use recommended settings. Yes, I trust this folder. I'm going to click on use high effort, and now we're in. And so at this point, we could ask Claude Code to have us spin up the team of agents that we want. But before we do that, we need to allow a permission for it to bypass permissions. And what this means is that it's giving Claude permission to edit files and to run commands on its own without having to ask us every single time. So in order to do that, we're going to have to start Claude one more time with a different command. So for that, I'm just going to press Command C and then C again to exit. And so I typed clear so that it would get rid of the previous stuff that we had in there. So now I'm going to type Claude and then dash dangerously dash skip dash permissions, hit enter. And now it's going to give me the warning. If I'm sure I want to do this, I'm going to say yes, I accept. And now we're inside Claude one more time. And if you see down here, it says bypass permissions on. And we can actually toggle between different modes by hitting Shift Tab. So Shift Tab will put me into accepting edits on. This is like the default one, which is going to be asking you questions every single time. We don't want that. Plan mode, we're going to use this at first to generate a plan on our app, and then bypass permissions on. So right now I'm going to go into plan mode, and I'm going to say my prompt. I actually have my prompt over here, so I'm just going to read it. I want you to come up with a plan to build a beautiful functional habit tracker web app with these specs. Features, add new habits with a name, an optional description, mark habits as complete for today with satisfying visual feedback, show a streak of counter for consecutive days completed, display a 7-day grid showing completion history for each habit, deleting habits, data persists between sessions, and then design modern, clean interface with smooth animations, dark mode with colorful accent gradients, celebratory animation when you complete a habit. We're going to be doing this using Claude Agent Teams, in which we're going to have a front-end developer agent, a back-end developer agent, and a Q&A engineer agent. Please make sure that you have the necessary resources to run Teams. Here is the documentation for Teams so that you can search it. So my prompt was just pasted there. I was using Whisperflow and talking to my mic. And now I actually want to go into the documentation and copy the URL and just paste it as part of the prompt, because in this way Claude is now going to be able to have context on how to use this feature. You can do it manually as well if you read the documentation, like they guide you through a few commands and stuff that you have to change. But if it also works if you just give it the URL. So I'm going to click enter. As you see, here's my full prompt, and now we're going to wait for it to start coming up with the plan. So we're going to wait for that. And this might look a little bit intimidating, but trust me, it's just the same thing that you're seeing in that other VS Code extension for Claude. It's just in the terminal. I honestly like this view a little bit better, although the other one's a little bit more user-friendly. And so right now during the planning phase, I actually got a question here asking me if I want to enable the experimental agent Teams feature. So I'm just going to hit yes. Asking me some other question about the display mode. I'm just going to go with the recommended one and then submit, and it's going to keep on planning. So the plan has been completed, and let's quickly just skim over this. So prerequisites, enable agent teams, that has been completed. Phase 1, scaffold project team lead for spawning agents. Create the project skeleton so all agents have working base to build into. I'm going to create a cloud.md file for shared agent context. Then it's going to actually spawn the agents with each of their task breakdown. Looks like these are different files that they're going to have to create. Use delegate mode so the lead only orchestrates and doesn't code. So the team lead, which we're going to be able to talk to during the execution, and we're going to see that right now, is actually just going to be orchestrating everything and make sure that they're doing their work right. And we got some information, but I'm just going to click on yes, clear context and bypass permission. And that's going to start our execution here. So we're going to give that a few minutes. It might take a little while. Remember that in order for you to access this feature, you need to be in one of the paid plans of Claude. But I also want to point out that this does burn through your tokens a lot. It does consume a lot of tokens. So be aware of that. But I still find it very cool, and it's also very effective. We're going to see it right now. So it looks like the agents are starting to be spawned. The backend developer has spawned. And if we want to look what are the agents that we have, we're going to see down here main is the main agent or the team lead. Backend developer is going to be our backend. And then front-end dev. If we can expand it using, see the Q&A just spawned, using shift and arrow up. And I can actually, if I hold shift, I can toggle between each one of these, hit enter, and see what each one of them is doing. So for example, here I can see the Q&A engineer is starting. Let's look into the front-end dev. The front-end dev has also just started. And the backend dev. So they're all working on their own tasks. And I can always go over to the team lead and ask, like, how is everyone doing? And that's going to queue a message, and it's going to actually check what all the agents are doing, and it's going to tell me like a summary of where we're standing. And it says good progress across all 3 agents. Here's the breakdown. Backend dev, 3 of 6 tasks done. Front-end dev, 1 of 6. Q&A, 0 of 2 done. I'm assuming this one's going to be all the way till the end. And look, it even gave me sort of like a Kanban board or table showing me where everything's standing right now. So backend dev has done most of their tasks. We got front-end waiting on a few tasks over here, and Q&A engineer as well. It also tells me what's going on in between the agents. So for example, here, backend dev just notified QA that the data layer isn't ready. Let me check if everything is wrapped up. So it looks like the first agent has been shut down, which was the backend, because they have finished their task. So every time one of the agents finish their tasks, they get shut. Okay, so this is taking a little while. So I'm just gonna ask how much until it's done. Let's see what it says. I think he got stuck. Okay, looks like the QA just wrapped up, so it's gonna shut it down. And it looks like we actually have a local host in which we can check the first prototype of this. Why don't we go ahead and open that in my browser? If you hear all these dings, it's because I installed sort of like a plugin, I guess, or I don't know what it is. I basically told Claude Code to install a sound for when it was done doing something, because I would figure that sometimes I would let it run and I would forget about it. So this kind of like reminds me that it's done doing something. Okay, it looks like it's working now. So here it is, guys. Look, so it looks like it's optimized for it to be sort of like an app, but pretty simple app. Okay, pretty smooth. Dark mode and light mode setting. Now it says build better routines one day at a time, weekly progress. So morning run. So okay, so this basically tracks streaks on different habits, which is cool. And do I just click on it? Okay, this makes it a 9th streak run. Why is it 9? Wouldn't it be 6? Let's see if it does the same thing here. Goes up to 8. That's weird. So looks like there's a bug with how the streak works. Looks like the one for the practice guitar isn't even working. I mean, I don't know what day this assumed that today is, but we can already see some bugs. I like this animation of the fire, which is kind of like pulsing. Let's see what happens if I do a new habit. So let's say walk dog. And I hit enter. That's down here. I can click Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Oh, it's Saturday today, so it does know what day it is, but we just can't see it anywhere. But this is great. This is good for, it took like 10 minutes. It took a little longer because I noticed that the QA engineer got stuck at some point, but this is great. So you can see how simple it is for us to use this mode and get something up and running faster. So if I were to do this without agents, then this would take a little longer because I would have to go back and forth with one agent and test it myself. I mean, I could obviously have different agents running in parallel, but they wouldn't be talking to each other. So it wouldn't really make much sense if I wanted the agents to talk to each other and test it. But now with this new functionality, it's just totally possible. I think it's great. Like I said, it does burn through a lot of tokens, but this is great. This is where things are headed. I'm very excited to test this mode a little bit more. And I'm sure it can be used for other things, not just for developing and building apps. You can probably have something for market research. So let's say you're a company and you're entering a new market and you want to do analysis on your competitors. You can have an agent that spawns multiple agents that do marketing research on their competitors. They do growth strategies research on their competitors, on all that sort of things, talking to each other, put together a report. That's where I see these agents also performing really well. But this is great. This is great. Let's see if the trash functionality works. It works. So cool. Pretty cool. And there you go. That's how you can set up Claude Code Teams on your own through the terminal. As I mentioned, I'm going to be leaving a full step-by-step guide on how you can do this and maybe a different use case like market research in my school community. Feel free to join in the link down below. And if this is your first time watching one of my videos, I hope you enjoyed it and make sure to subscribe and leave a like on the video. See you guys on the next one.